I was what they called an amphibious. They tacked the brown water on us. They said, you're an amphibious brown water Gator Navy sailor. Over the first trip in '64, this was very late '64, close to '65, we took Marines, CBs, materials, and all this in. We took them into Chulai and we took them into Da Nang. Then we went back to San Diego, turned around and came back. We went to Puqua Island, a little village there called Anthoy. That island was controlled by the VC. Now the Marines had to go in and do an amphibious assault on that island to clear it out. What they used that island for, that island, if you look at the map, the island actually is right below Cambodia. However, it's South Vietnamese territory. What they would do is come down through Cambodia, they would bring supplies and stuff in, then they would take a boat, or a trawler, or sampans, or whatever they had, and they would sail around that island and go up along the coastline to the delta, and go up the delta, and they would stash this arms and stuff in the tunnels. And that's what they were doing. Our mission was to stop it. So we went out there. I was on an LST, okay? It's a flat bottom ship, about as long as a football field, 300 and something feet, or the size of a destroyer. But we don't draw a draft. I mean, very, very little draft since we are flat bottom. So they planned on us going up the rivers and what have you, eventually. But this was called Operation Market Time. We sat there and we waited for 9 boats. When those 9 boats got there, now those boats were Coast Guard cutters, 80-foot Coast Guard cutters, 82 foot or something like that. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about those Coast Guard sailors. They put us to shame. I'm going to tell you. People can say what they want to about them being shallow water sailors and all this and all that. They are sailors. I'm proud to have been associated with the Coast Guard over there. They could outfight the sailors. I'm just telling you, they were trained. They knew what they were doing and they did their job. Ever since Vietnam, I'll go, if one of them gets in trouble, I'll be there to help him. I guarantee you that. You're in a war over there in Vietnam. You don't realize, you don't think about the Coast Guard fighting. You think of them out here saving lives in the ocean, this, that, what have you. They were just as much, if not more, of the line of defense over there as any branch. They were great. They were fantastic guys. But what we would do is send 4 of those boats out. They would go up around the shoreline and they would catch these boats, these Vietnamese boats, the Viet Cong boats and what have you, and do away with their supplies and what have you. Do away with the armament or what have you. Or if need be, if they got into a firefight, they just do what's necessary. So we did that for about 3 months. Then they sent us up to Van Tau. We took on 2 Huey helicopters on the deck. Then our mission was to send the PBRs out. We had the PBRs are patrol boat, river patrol boats, and we would send the PBRs out. When they would start taking fire on, that's when we'd send the Seahawks out, the Hueys, and they would mortar. They would send the longitude and latitude in where they were taking on fire. The Hueys would go out and mortar that spot. So those boats were guinea pigs. They were sent out to draw fire so that we could get rid of them. It was the beginning of the river boats at that time in '65. And we, being flat bottom and what have you, we would go up the delta and we would take supplies up for them to build the boat stations, along the Mekong Delta. And that was our duty. It wasn't fun, but we had some fun times. If we were in the river, if we find us a clearing, an LST is a ship that goes up on the bank opens the bow doors, and then you can offload. We would get up there, we'd go on the bank, we'd open the bow doors, we'd go down to rec locker, we'd get us a football, or we'd get us a soccer ball, and we'd get up there and just raise Cain with each other, you know. I mean, you're frustrated. The harder you could hit somebody, the better you was, you know. We'd roll around and what have you, and we had no idea why that spot was cleared out. But later on in life, you figure out that spot was cleared out because they had sprayed it with Agent Orange. And we were out there rolling around in it. But we didn't know. But the only thing that we were told when we were there, this stuff will not harm human beings. It will not harm the land. It will not harm the water. It's just it's a herbicide. It's just going to kill the vegetation. And you know, that's what we were told the whole time we were there. Now, does the VA recognize it? They recognize it. Right now, I think it's 17 or 18 conditions. Since the PACT Act passed, I think it's 18 conditions that they recognize. But, you know, we do get compensation, and that's a good thing. We do get health care through the VA, and that's a good thing. But we get no recognition for what they've done to us. And that's a bad thing, and that's what we're trying to do as our foundation, is just let the public know what went on so it'll never happen again. We don't want this. No matter what kind of war we get into, we do not want chemicals used. And they can say what they want to, they can call it what they want to, but it was nothing more than chemical warfare. I'm not PC. Now, do you blame the government? I don't. But did they know what they were doing? That's the question. Did they know that they were going to kill 2.6 million of us? But it's, you know, I'm not trying to stir up anything. I want to help my brothers and sisters. That's all I want is for the recognition that we were internally wounded while we served our country in Vietnam. Because this stuff has been handed down generation after generation after generation. There are two science researchers at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, that are taking this and doing the research on it. Before COVID hit, Kalen Berner and Kevin Osteen had gone to the 5th generation on women, the 4th generation on men. Of course, their grant was pulled when COVID hit. But I was with both of those last Saturday, both of the scientists, and they've started back up. So I'm anxious to find out just how many generations this is going to go. And we have got to pass that torch on to them because our time is limited. For the life of me, I do not understand why they won't recognize us as being internally wounded, because that's exactly what we were. Now, they can call it herbicidal warfare. They changed the name from herbicidal warfare, from chemical warfare to herbicidal warfare because, you know, it's more PC to them. The same way they changed the name of Operation Ranch Hand, which started out to be Operation Hades. And they changed the name from Hades to Ranch Hand because it was more PC. When they were experimenting with it in '61, it was Operation Hades. When they started all out spraying, they had changed it to Operation Ranch Hand, '62. Operation Ranch Hand was the spraying of Agent Orange, over 20 million gallons during the 7-year period, because they cut it off at 71 instead of 75. Actually they were experimenting with it in '61, '62 they started full force with it and they were spraying it. Now, the VA took note and they were only going to approve the claims of the area that this stuff was sprayed in. But the whole country of South Vietnam was contaminated because of the monsoons, the wind, this, that, getting in the soil. Then the monsoons come along, wash it into the rivers, people drinking out of the rivers. The fish that they live on over there was contaminated. Now, here in this country, we're fortunate to have places like the VA, places that, you know, give us medical help. Over there, they don't have that. Now, if you go to Vietnam right now today, and you go into some of those hospitals over there, children hospitals, you'll see kids with their hearts born with their hearts on the outside. You'll see them that they can't walk. Their limbs are just twisted. You'll see them with 6 fingers on their hands. It's just unbelievable, and it is just heart-wrenching. It's just heart-wrenching. But well, they're a brother. They had your back when you was over there. I mean, you didn't have to worry. I mean, you knew that if you got shot, you knew you had somebody to drag your butt out of there, you know, or what have you. Just like when we were out there playing football or soccer or what have you, we had guards around there with Thompson machine guns and M14s and armament like that. We knew that our brothers was there for us, and that holds true today. What do I say? I say, hey brother, do you have a condition of Agent Orange? Because I'm going to hook you up with a medal. I was up at Fort Campbell not long ago. We were up there and we stopped in to eat, and these boys come in from Fort Campbell at I think it was at Hardee's or somewhere, and there was about 6 of them, and they went through the line there, you know, and everything, and I paid for their dinner. I paid for their lunch. Young guys. Because I've been there. I know what they're going through. And this old adage of one branch better than the other, Vietnam, that was crap, because we depended on each other. We depended on every branch of the service to get the job done. When we was over there, the big thing was mail call. Guys would sit and wait, you know, for the chopper to bring the mail in or what have you, and that was a big day. I was going with this gal that I ended up marrying, that we went to high school together, and the only mail that I got was from her. I did get a care package from my family, my mom and dad, one time. We had a little Sears radio in it, a transistor radio. You don't know. Most people don't know today what a transistor radio is, but I did get a little Sears transistor radio, and I've still got that little Sears transistor radio. But I guess I would say she was my girlfriend at the time. And this December 28th will be 59 years that we've been married. So she's put up with a lot. We were so close. Jim Clark. I was an electrician. Jim was an electrician. We had mail call. He didn't get any mail, but I got a letter from my wife. She wasn't my wife at the time, my girlfriend. So he just opens my letter. It's got pictures of her in the bathtub with, you know. Well, I caught it, man, all over that ship's crew. Everybody's seen these pictures but me. And they come up to me and said, way to go, Gamble, way to go, and slapping me on the back and said, what the hell are y'all talking about? And then finally Jim showed me my pictures. But I mean, that's the way we were. We were tight, we were close. Well, when I made E5 as senior electrician, Jim had already come home. When I made E5, we had a ceremony. We mustered out on the main deck, the captain, engineering officer, everybody. And when they put the crow on me, the second class crow on me, they picked me up. The ship's crew picked me up and threw me overboard. At that point in time, we were in the rivers, and they tell us about these pencil snakes. about the size of a fishing worm, about that long and about the size of your little finger. Call them pencil snakes. And if they bite you, you got 11 seconds to live. So when they threw me over, there was a wake behind me getting back in on that ship. So, you know, I just thought, man, I'm fortunate as all get out. All right, 50-something years later, this veteran, one of the guys I served with, comes over to the house. He was up from Texas or somewhere. And we're sitting there on the couch talking. And Rod brought it up. He says, you remember when we threw your I ain't going to say that, but you remember when we threw you overboard? I said, yeah. I said, you know how close you guys could have come to killing me? I said, if I'd have gotten bitten by one of them pencil snakes. My wife heard what he said. And she said, what's a pencil snake? And I said, oh, they're a little snake about the size of a pencil that are very deadly. She's sitting there at the computer, so she goes on that computer and says pencil snake. She puts it in there and it comes back. The first words it says on there is non-poisonous. I've had nightmares for 50 years about these snakes, and I was too dumb to go and do research about them. Now, they've got what they call a 3-step snake, and that's in the cobra family or what have you, and if it bites you, you might get 3 steps down the way before you fall over. And then we were associating that with these pencil snakes. If you go on there and do the research, you can see a quarter laying there, and you can see this little snake curled up on this quarter. That's how small they are. Why am I proud to be a Vietnam vet? That right there says it all. I mean, the Vietnam veterans, you might run across one every once in a while that's bitter, you know. But I think most of them have realized now that what happened to us when we came home was just a big mistake. That was because of the news, media, and the government itself. Those people were more or less brainwashed of what was happening over there. All we did was try to help the South Vietnamese people. We went in there and gave them shots, you know, and give the kids candy bars, and I mean, you know, we weren't the bad guys like the news media was making us out to be. I can't say enough about Vietnam veterans. But there's one thing about it. They came home and they didn't get spit on, they didn't get cussed, they didn't get beer bottles thrown at them, because you had Vietnam veterans there to support them when they came home. Because we said a long time ago, no other war is going to do what they did to us, because we're going to be there to support. And I try to make it to Fort Campbell when they come in. Yeah, it doesn't matter to me what war they served in. They're veterans. They're veterans. The only difference is, and there's not going to be a whole lot of difference, because they got the burn pits and all that to deal with. You can call it Agent Orange, you can call it burn pits, you can call it whatever you want to. It's chemical warfare, that's all it is. And it goes on from one to the other. And they're going to go through the same thing we've been going through. And when we're all gone, they're young enough that they're going to be going through it. Whatever it takes, we're going to be fighting for them. We're going to be fighting just as hard for them, the Afghanistan and them, as I am for the Vietnam veterans. They're veterans. We could have turned against this civilian population in a heartbeat. We were tired of war. We were tired of fighting. We just wanted to go home. That's the reason that it took so many years for the Vietnam veterans to come out of the closet, you might say, because they just didn't want no more hassle, no more, we'd had enough of it. And when you come home and you got to contend with it again, now we weren't shooting our guns or anything, don't get me wrong, but when you are disrespected to the point that you get spit on and cussed at and thrown beer bottles at you and everything else, and you walk into a park in San Diego and it says dogs and sailors keep off the grass, it makes you you know, it just kind of makes you want to just go away, just get out of society altogether. And that's what Vietnam veterans did. They just locked it up inside them. And it's only been the last few years that we've come forward. When they started the vet centers where we could go and get therapy, you know, and tell our stories, the biggest thing that's helped me unload was Operation Song. When Bob Reagan and we sat down, and Don Goodman, and we started telling our stories, writing our stories, and then when we started putting our stories to song, giving us a CD with our song on it that we had time in service, that 8 weeks did more for me than 8 years of therapy. And I'm not lying to you. That is the best program for a veteran, whether he be a Afghanistan vet, a Vietnam vet, Iraqi vet, or what, a Korean vet, or whatever. To get that off your chest and put it in song to where you've got a CD is the best therapy that there is for a veteran. Bob Reagan, who is an award-winning songwriter, he's written for everybody from Reba McEntire to Taylor Swift to Willie Nelson. He's written songs for all of them. Don Goodman has written songs. Now, you know, Old Red, Blake Shelton, Don wrote that song. Both of them, you know, they're retired from songwriting. They decided they want to give back. They wanted to give back to veterans. So they started this Operation Song. And they're 501c3. And what they did was they said, look, let's get a group of veterans together and let's have them write down their experience that they experienced while they were in the service. So and they started off with 8 people. And each week, they would take one person that had written each week. And all the rest, the other 7 guys, and Bob and Don, we would sit down and we would pick their writing to death. We would pull lyrics from it. We would, you know, like you do when you're writing songs. And then we'd get a hook, and we would do this and do that. And then Bob and Don would be sitting over there playing the guitar, and we would be doing the lyrics and what have you. Well, when all 8 of us had our turn, we would go to the recording studio. Now, we would get session players to back us up. We would get somebody with a voice to sing the songs. They could be a well-known singer. You wouldn't know who they were. I mean, you know, they would donate their time to do this. We would cut a master, then we would send them off. We would get 100 CDs cut of this album. Then when we had an outing, what have you, we would try and sell the CDs. We are a band of brothers due to the fact what we went through over there was a situation to where you had to do it.